Urgent warnings echo through the air as the girl pleads for Eugene to activate his defensive capabilities against the looming danger. Confidence radiates from Eugene as he declares his hidden strategy, leaving his companion in a state of stunned disbelief. The monstrous beast looms over the ledge, its glowing eyes fixed upon the two figures below. Eugene channels his inner strength, weaving a complex arcane barrier to shield the girl from the impending onslaught. A violent impact shatters the air, sending a shockwave of golden light outward as the creature strikes his shimmering dome. Ground-shaking vibrations erupt as the monster's fury hammers against the magical seal, threatening to shatter Eugene's defense. The beast lunges forward, its massive frame straining against the shimmering barrier as the magical seal groans under the weight of its raw power. The creature lets out a deafening roar, its massive body trembling with raw energy as it prepares to strike. A violent blast erupts from the containment field, shattering the earth into jagged shards while the force of the impact sends a shockwave through the surrounding wasteland. Dust settles across the fractured earth, leaving the two survivors standing amidst the jagged remains of the destroyed barrier. Yeren prepares to unleash her newly awakened potential, her determination manifesting in a surge of magical energy. Her feet ignite with emerald light, propelling her forward in a powerful leap that shatters the ground beneath her. She leaps across the jagged terrain, leaving trails of emerald energy behind her. He explains how the sturdy wall of magic functions as a cage, before recalling a specific moment spent browsing the association's inventory. He recounts browsing through the inventory and selecting these specialized items. He grips the potent toxin, knowing it serves as his ultimate insurance against any sudden threat. He focuses on the shimmering barrier, calculating the exact moment to collapse the energy field and neutralize the threat. Shock ripples across his face when the containment fails, leaving him stunned by the unexpected outcome. He scans the desolate wasteland, finding only an empty expanse where the beast once stood. Confusion crosses his face as he searches the empty ground, listening to the rhythmic clunks echoing through the silent waste. A dark arc of energy whips through the air, slicing toward him with lethal intent. The beast's roar coincides with a deafening explosion, sending a shockwave that blasts Eugene backward through the air. A massive impact sends Eugene tumbling through the air, while Yeren watches in horror as he is thrown by the force. Yeren cries out for help, her voice barely audible over the roar of the approaching beast. Rachita strikes with lethal intent, its serpentine limbs whipping through the air while Eugene barely deflects the crushing weight of the beast's assault. The creature's heavy tail slams into the earth, forcing Eugene to lose his footing as he slides backward from the impact. The beast unleashes a bone-chilling roar, forcing Eugene to grab Yeren and scream for her to flee into the nearby alleyway. Amidst the frantic retreat, Eugene barks a harsh reality check about her lowly rank while she desperately defends her status as an awakened adult. Bolting through the debris, the pair flees at high speed while the sonic boom of their escape echoes across the wasteland. Yeren admits her vulnerability, fueled by a desperate desire to possess her own strength despite the risks of her youth. Her gratitude turns into a bitter realization of her own weakness, as she struggles with the reality of relying on another to ensure her survival. Frustration boils within her as the realization of her helplessness fuels a burning desire for strength. Amidst the bustling city, she resolves to transcend her current limitations and forge a path toward true power. She stares ahead with unwavering focus, vowing never to let her youth become an excuse for weakness or a reason to wait for others to save her. She watches the approaching threat, fueled by a burning desire to become strong enough to protect herself and forge her own path. Her determination hardens into a silent vow, fueled by the memory of his words regarding her hidden potential. She demands he teach her the secrets of strength, pleading for him to unveil the true extent of her power. A violent surge of magical energy erupts between them, blasting both figures backward as the sheer magnitude of her awakening strikes like a physical blow. Staggering back from the shockwave, both survivors gasp for air while Eugene reaches out to steady her. He seizes her hand, his firm grip anchoring her against the surging tide of magic that begins to explode into a blinding wave of frost. The blast detonates with deafening force, sending shockwaves through the air. Shock ripples through him as the sheer scale of the awakening overwhelms his senses. Jagged bolts of arcane energy erupt from her core, manifesting into a violent display of raw power that consumes the surrounding space. The arcane seal expands outward from her palm, radiating a blinding cerulean glow that ripples through the air. Her pupils dilate in shock as the frosty psi technique surges through her veins, unleashing a tidal wave of absolute zero that consumes everything in its path. Ice shards fracture the atmosphere while a digital notification confirms her evolution into an S-rank powerhouse. With a radiant grin, Yerem throws her arms wide to celebrate the overwhelming surge of power now coursing through her veins. Boasting of her newfound glory, Yerem shouts about her rank and the incredible abilities now at her command. Eugene cuts her off with a sharp warning, his gaze shifting toward the shadows where a lurking predator prepares to strike. The monster's heavy scales clatter against the rubble, its massive serpent-like neck coiling menacingly as it closes in on them. Yerem recoils in terror as the beast's overwhelming aura fills the air. A desperate warning escapes Eugene's lips just as the monster's violent energy strikes, sending a shockwave that slams into Yerem. The blast sends shards of earth flying as the sheer force of the beast's presence rattles their very bones. A terrifying hiss escapes the beast as it looms over them, forcing Yerem to acknowledge the true scale of the threat. With a determined grin, Yerem clenches her fists and vows to handle the remaining challenges alone. Yerem requests the weapon from the tall hunter, seeking a tool to bolster her defense against the looming threat. A blinding flash erupts as the weapon slams into the earth, unleashing a violent surge of arcane power that ripples outward in shimmering waves. A violent crack of energy tears through the atmosphere, creating a deafening roar that shakes the very ground. Luminous frost erupts into a towering pillar of ice, surging toward the heavens as the girl's awakening transforms the battlefield into a frozen wasteland. A blinding surge of arcane energy erupts, shattering the atmosphere as the raw force of her awakening radiates outward in a violent wave. Shielding her from the backlash, Eugene maintains his stance as golden runes flare with intense light. The sandals of Hermes activate, surging with azure light as Yerem prepares to transcend the physical limits of the battlefield. A colossal surge of arcane energy erupts outward, creating a blinding vortex of frost and light as the girl's power manifests with devastating force. The concussive blast of raw energy erupts, sending shards of magic and debris flying into the air as the sheer force of the awakening tears through the atmosphere. Yerem struggles to contain the volatile surge of magic, her raw power threatening to overwhelm everyone nearby. Laughing through the chaos, Yerem admits her struggle to master these surging abilities. Legends once whispered the name of the Ice Witch, a title now reclaimed by Yerem as her power crystallizes. Beaming with newfound confidence, Yerem lets out a joyful laugh that echoes through the clearing. Her boots hit the ground with explosive force, propelling her forward into the next phase of her journey. Dust kicks up as she lands, signaling a shift toward the tactical evaluation of her burgeoning potential. A towering figure looms over the girl, his presence commanding respect while he offers words of guidance regarding her newly awakened power. A surge of arcane energy ignites within his palm, crackling with violet light as he prepares to release a devastating blast. The explosion erupts with a deafening roar, sending a massive shockwave that slams into everything nearby. Amidst the swirling debris, he screams for his brother. A violent eruption of magical energy incinerates everything in its path, leaving nothing but scorched earth and searing heat. Shocked by the magnitude of the blast, he stares at the scorched wasteland where only ash remains. Jagged tongues of flame erupt into the sky, incinerating everything within their reach. Amidst the settling ash, the towering figures of the survivors stand firm against the fading heat. Burning embers fall like snow around them while the weight of the new reality settles upon their weary faces. They share a heavy silence, locked in a mutual understanding of the burden their newfound status imposes upon them. A colossal wave of arcane energy erupts, incinerating everything in its path. Shocked witnesses stare at the devastation, realizing the sheer magnitude of the power unleashed in a single move. Dust and debris settle over the scorched wasteland, leaving only the heavy silence of the aftermath. Staring into the void, Eugene and Yerem share a heavy silence as they process the weight of their newfound power. Relief washes over Yerem's face as she finally acknowledges the truth behind his protection. Eugene grabs her shoulder, his voice cracking with desperate frustration over her reckless behavior. Eugene offers a desperate plea of reassurance, hoping she understands the weight of his words. Yerem stands before the crowd, her nervous expression betraying her inner turmoil as she accepts the daunting title of a brand new S-ranker. Yerem ponders the weight of her new title while Eugene struggles to find the right words, sweating under the pressure of their complicated circumstances. Sweating under the pressure, Eugene hesitates before offering an explanation about his role. He clarifies that a simple contract offers no personal protection, leaving her vulnerable despite their official agreement. He contrasts the limitations of a sponsorship with the absolute authority granted by a legal guardianship. Shock ripples across her face as the weight of his words sinks in. She questions his motives while he remains firm against her reckless determination. He warns her that an S-ranker will not listen to an F-ranker's commands, highlighting the brutal hierarchy of their world. He mocks her naivety regarding the hierarchy of power, questioning if she truly believes an S-ranker would ever heed the commands of someone so lowly. Yerem insists on her innocence, claiming she would never do such a thing despite the harsh reality of their situation. Eugene scoffs at her protest, his face contorting in annoyance as he prepares to dismiss her naive defense. Gritting his teeth, Eugene declares his unwavering commitment to her safety. Yerem stares in disbelief while the swirling energies of their conflicting powers collide around them. Eugene offers words of comfort while Yerem cowers in fear, until a sudden, violent grip crushes her arm with a sickening crack. Yerem gasps in agony as the bone snaps under the crushing pressure. Panic erupts as Eugene frantically offers medical aid while Yerem whimpers in agony, begging for solitude amidst their shared trauma. Eugene frantically questions if he should fetch a healer or magical potions, his voice filled with concern as he tries to stabilize her condition. Yoo-hyun bellows at his brother, demanding he accept the reality of their new rank while dismissing Eugene's hesitation regarding Yerem's legal guardianship. Yoo-hyun barks orders for Eugene to prioritize his professional responsibilities over their current predicament, demanding he fulfill his role as guildmaster immediately. Dismissing the current chaos, Eugene promises to settle everything later, his words cutting through the heavy atmosphere as he prepares to move forward. Yerem bristles at the realization of the guildmaster's abrasive personality, retreating physically as she struggles with her growing reliance on Eugene's protection. She recoils from the guildmaster's hostility, retreating into a defensive stance as she grapples with her own vulnerability. Apologizing for his overwhelming strength, Eugene checks on her condition as she calmly brushes off the pain of her dislocated shoulder. He reaches down to help her into her boots, ensuring she is properly equipped before they move forward. He notes the poorly fitting footwear with a soft sigh, mocking her uncle's lack of taste while offering to replace them tomorrow. He chuckles at her confusion, jokingly comparing their current predicament to common tropes found in television shows. He leans in closer, specifying that their situation mirrors those common romance dramas. A sudden vibration from her device breaks his playful comparison, startling her. A tiny fly flutters past her face, causing Yerem to jump back in surprise. Blood splatters across his face, leaving him stunned by her sudden outburst. Her hysterical laughter echoes through the air as she mocks his shocked expression. Eugene offers a somber explanation, admitting that his protective actions stem from having endured similar hardships in his own past. He reveals the heavy burden of his past, explaining how the loss of his parents left him searching for someone to lean on. He admits his own insecurities to her, confessing that despite his outward appearance, he often felt alone in his struggle. He offers her a rare moment of vulnerability, admitting that despite his outward appearance, he often feels alone in his struggle. He offers her a soft word of encouragement, whispering that she will manage just fine. Yerem reacts with genuine shock to his words, her eyes widening as she processes the weight of their new partnership. Eugene smiles warmly at her, his expression softening as he acknowledges the gravity of their pact. They press their fists together in a firm gesture of solidarity. Eugene offers a humble admission, confessing that while his love might not match her parents', it remains absolute. Yerem blushes deeply, her face flushing red at his sincere admission. A sudden chime echoes through the air as the system confirms Yerem's evolution into an S-rank powerhouse. Dust settles over the ruined landscape while a frantic man spots her through the haze. Grabbing her shoulder, the man looms over her with a desperate intensity. He looms over her with a sickening grin, demanding to know if she has truly awakened and can now provide him with a fortune. He grins greedily, demanding to know if she has truly awakened and can now provide him with a fortune. The massive man bellows her name into the night air. Grinning wildly, the towering man corners the girl and demands confirmation of her sudden awakening. Leaning into her personal space, the man looms over the girl and demands confirmation of her newfound power. Greed fuels his desperate words as he targets her newly acquired status. He barks his command, demanding she confront the nuisance. Yerem ignores his crude demands, standing firm against the man's pathetic display of authority. A crude man looms over her, his face twisting into a grotesque grin as he hungers for the wealth promised by her newfound rank. The crude man looms over her, grinning wildly as he brags about his high rank and the massive jackpot it promises. Eugene remains calm as he explains the legalities of their contract, causing the Guardian to erupt in disbelief over her true age. The Guardian's face twists in exaggerated outrage, his voice cracking as he struggles to process her claim. He bellows a frantic denial, his face contorting with rage as the reality of her legal standing begins to sink in. Eugene reveals the hidden evidence, capturing the Guardian's desperate outburst on camera. The Guardian reels back, his face twisting into a mask of panicked disbelief as he realizes his desperate outbursts were captured by the recording device. The Guardian's face twists into a mask of fury as he bellows at the girl, his voice cracking with desperate, panicked aggression. A heavy blow connects as the man seizes her, his face contorted by a frantic, desperate roar. He bellows a frantic threat, his voice cracking with desperate aggression as he demands every penny from her. A violent shockwave shatters the earth, sending shards of debris and crackling energy into the air. Debris and smoke fill the air as the concussive force of the blast leaves everyone stunned by the sheer magnitude of the energy release. Yeren grips her staff tightly, processing the weight of her newfound power while the echoes of the blast still ring in her ears. Stunned by the overwhelming surge of power, Yeren stares blankly ahead while the reality of her transformation begins to sink in. The muscular Guardian bellows at his victim, accusing them of attempting a fraudulent scheme. The man recoils in visible shock, his face contorting as he fails to comprehend the reality of the situation. He wears a mocking grin, pretending he has no idea what the man is talking about. The brute's body buckles under an overwhelming impact, his bones shattering with a sickening crunch. Shock ripples across his face as the reality of the situation hits him, his eyes widening in sudden, panicked realization. A guttural roar escapes him, his body recoiling from the overwhelming display of raw power. A mental shield activates against his terror, while he cowers before the reality of her newfound rank. Eugene steps forward, his voice cold and steady as he declares their severed ties. His grip tightens with brutal force, causing a sickening crunch that echoes through the air. Suchin's Guardian towers over her, his voice dripping with mockery as he mocks her lack of proper equipment. He looms over her trembling form, his voice dripping with malice as he threatens to crush her into nothingness. He places a heavy hand upon her shoulder, his voice dripping with disdain as he dismisses her value. He leans into her personal space, his voice dripping with venomous insults that mock her very existence. He mocks her worth until her spirit begins to fracture under the weight of his cruel words. The brute towers over her, his shadow looming large while he barks a crude demand for her submission. Suchun recoils in shock as the man's intimidating aura overwhelms her senses. The man leans in, his looming shadow casting a suffocating weight over her while he demands her submission. A deafening blast of air clears the lingering haze, leaving Suchun trembling beneath the man's predatory gaze. Yeren giggles at her own imitation, while Eugene reflects on their new reality and the looming shadows of the world they must now navigate together. A sudden shift in perspective reveals the hidden complexities behind their new alliance, as the weight of the unknown looms over them. A sprawling cityscape stretches toward the horizon, bathed in the golden glow of a setting sun. A heavy thud echoes through the air, causing Suchun to recoil in pain. Suchun remains paralyzed by exhaustion as her Guardian towers over her, his imposing silhouette casting a shadow of dread across the room. Startled by a heavy thud outside, Suchun sits up in her bed, wondering what could possibly require such urgency in the pre-dawn silence. A menacing demand echoes through the room as the Guardian demands the goods she acquired at the mall. Panic flares in Suchun's eyes when she realizes he isn't interested in her purchases, but rather the specific items she acquired for the mission. He lunges forward to snatch the vials, leaving Suchun stunned by his aggressive demand for the very items she secured for their mission. Suchun recoils in shock, his accusing words piercing through the tense silence of the corridor. The man seizes her roughly, his looming presence overwhelming her senses while she cries out in confusion at his sudden aggression. Yuhyun's presence is felt as the man confronts her, questioning why she would resort to such extreme measures in this desperate situation. He looms over her, his voice dripping with accusation as he demands to know why she chose such drastic methods in this moment of peril. Suchun acknowledges his protection, pleading for him to avoid such dangerous tactics in the future. Suchun offers a weak smile, her voice trembling as she thanks him for his protection despite the reckless danger he endured. Their shared moment of vulnerability fades into a tense realization that their predicament is spiraling out of control. A sharp chime echoes through the hall as the clock ticks forward. They exchange grim details about the crooked relative who drained Yerem's wealth through his failing business. They secure his signature on a binding settlement, utilizing both financial incentives and heavy-handed intimidation to ensure the man remains far away from her. With the threat neutralized by law and intimidation, Yerem finds peace from her harasser's reach. The pair discusses the reality of her new rank, acknowledging that her future power far outweighs any stolen inheritance. He notes that her new gear is built for extreme durability, allowing her to push her limits against S-rank threats without needing to hold back. Dust and rubble settle as the structural integrity of the surrounding area gives way, leaving the two survivors standing amidst the crumbling ruins. Ground tremors continue as the structure buckles, sending debris flying into the air. Dust hangs heavy in the stagnant air as the survivors stand amidst the wreckage, stunned by the sheer magnitude of the devastation. A muffled groan escapes through the thick haze of pulverized concrete. A massive shockwave erupts from the crumbling ground, sending clouds of debris into the air as a deafening thud echoes through the ruins. Amidst the settling dust, the duo faces a sudden confrontation from a menacing stranger who looms over them with a predatory gaze. A massive surge of arcane power erupts, shattering the surrounding reality into a million frozen fragments. The icy shockwave ripples through the air, pinning everything in its path under a layer of absolute zero frost. Yerem strikes the earth with a heavy palm, driving the frost deeper into the soil. The impact resonates through the earth as the enchanted sandals erupt in a violent surge of power. Propelling her forward with violent velocity, the magical footwear shatters the air into a deafening roar of kinetic energy. The explosive force of her acceleration slams into the beast, creating a deafening roar as the magical energy shatters the air. Dust and debris settle over the shattered earth as the shockwave finally subsides. Amidst the swirling debris, the two survivors stand stunned by the sheer magnitude of the transformation. A sudden tug catches Eugene off guard, his expression twisting into one of pure alarm. Pinned beneath a crushing weight, Eugene gasps as he realizes his mobility has been completely stripped away. Focusing his internal energy, Eugene calls upon his hidden power, chanting the command to activate his skill. A violent surge of arcane energy explodes outward, shattering the oppressive weight as Eugene's hidden power manifests in a blinding wave of force. Shockwaves of raw energy collide with the monster, forcing a scream from Yerem as she reels back from the overwhelming pressure. Ripples of violent energy pulse outward, leaving Yerem trembling amidst the swirling debris of the shattered barrier. Shockwaves from the collapsing barrier erupt outward, forcing Yerem to brace against the violent surge of kinetic energy. The mystical sandals ignite with a brilliant blue glow, propelling her forward as they navigate the volatile surge. A violent explosion of energy erupts from her stance, shattering the ground into jagged fragments. Shockwaves ripple across the cracked earth as the sheer force of her awakening leaves a devastating trail behind. Heavy footsteps pulverize the cracked earth as the sheer force of her awakening creates a devastating trail. Ground-shaking power erupts from his stance, sending shockwaves through the earth. He thrusts his glowing fist forward, shouting a defiant command. The explosion erupts with devastating force, shattering the earth as the shockwave tears through the surroundings. Ground tiles shatter under the immense pressure, cracking loudly as the residual energy ripples through the earth. Dust and debris swirl around Eugene as the ground crumbles into ruin, while nearby, Yerem collapses from the sheer intensity of the magical backlash. Eugene leans over the fallen girl, his voice strained with urgency as he pleads for her to regain consciousness. Yerem blinks in confusion, her eyes widening as a voice calls out her name. Startled by the sudden shift, Mr. Han jolts awake with a cry of alarm. Eugene watches her closely, his voice laced with genuine confusion as he asks if she even recognizes him anymore. Yerem stares in disbelief at her own reflection, struggling to process how much her appearance has changed since the makeover. Eugene beams with pride, explaining how the makeover has transformed her appearance into something that could land her lucrative sponsorship deals. Yerem poses confidently as Eugene notes that her striking appearance will surely attract lucrative offers from major sports drink corporations. Eugene explains that he must now play the part perfectly since his upcoming television appearance will turn him into a public figure. She meticulously examines the formal documentation to confirm every detail of her newly acquired abilities. Startled by his sudden inquiry, Yerem clutches her notes while trying to find the right words to describe her power. She describes Frosty Sigh as a technique that freezes everything in its path. She details how the shadowless shoes provide her with incredible speed, allowing her to fly or teleport across vast distances. The girl explains how her new ability, Corpse, allows for the extraction of vital information from dead bodies. Yerim hesitates over the risks of revealing her darker abilities, prompting Eugene to suggest hiding the more suspicious skills from the official records. They decide to omit the more suspicious abilities from her official records, ensuring her public persona remains untainted by the darker aspects of her newly awakened powers. Eugene explains the intricacies of her powers, advising her on how to temper her aura to navigate the complex social hierarchy of the hunter world. The official questions how she intends to control such overwhelming power, prompting a startled reaction from Yerim as they discuss the practicalities of her new status. Defending her from the official scrutiny, Eugene emphasizes that his brother's vast knowledge is a result of tireless research for her sake. Yerim reacts with visible shock as a nearby official interrupts their private conversation, sparking immediate friction between the two men. Eugene maintains a steady gaze, contemplating the weight of his words and the reality of their new path. Sudden flashes of light and sharp snaps echo through the air, instantly transporting them into a bustling metropolitan landscape. A sudden flash of light reveals the girl as she stands before the crowd, where news of her new S-rank status spreads instantly. Digital screens flash across the city, broadcasting her new title as the world witnesses the rise of the Ice Witch. Publicity fuels a frenzy as fans and reporters capture every detail, documenting the girl who has just ascended to the pinnacle of the hunter rankings. A tall official looms over the pair, while the reality of her new rank begins to weigh heavily on Yerim's mind. Eugene reflects on her inevitable ascent, knowing she will soon outgrow his humble protection, while the heavy silence of the other man underscores the gravity of her new reality. He acknowledges her growth with a heavy heart, recognizing that everything has changed. The weight of her transformation settles over them, marking the end of their old lives and the beginning of a new era. The icy transformation strips away her former identity, leaving only the cold majesty of the Ice Witch. Reality fractures as the past rewrites itself, leaving the duo to navigate a world where their very existence is suddenly questioned by the shifting timeline. Masked and composed, Eugene scans the bustling streets to identify any hidden talent worth recruiting into their ranks. Amidst the crowd, the man notes how rare such elite ranks are, while Eugene focuses his gaze on the reality of their situation. Eugene muses on how rare these elite ranks are, noting that high rankers rarely have time for idle strolls. A mysterious figure intercepts them, his presence demanding an explanation for their sudden movement. Eugene recalls his desperate voyage back in time, driven by the singular goal of rewriting their destinies and securing a better future for both him and Yerim. Yerim stares ahead, searching for a spark of hope amidst the surrounding chaos. Eugene seizes her arm, his firm grip grounding her amidst the overwhelming weight of their new reality. Eugene gazes at her with profound sincerity, realizing that his hidden strength serves one ultimate purpose, allowing such hidden gems to finally shine. A sudden shift in perspective reveals the cold reality of the system. Digital interfaces flash across the screen, confirming Yerim's evolution into a powerhouse as her true rank is finally unveiled. Eugene stares at the glowing interface, grappling with the staggering gap between his lowly rank and the hidden power surging within him. Eugene leans over the fallen girl, his hands trembling slightly as he desperately checks for signs of life. A digital interface flickers into existence, revealing the staggering truth of his hidden power. A stranger approaches with an eager grin, demanding recognition from the unassuming man standing before him. Confused by the lack of recognition, the man scratches his head while claiming he has no memory of the encounter. The man's eyes widen in sheer disbelief as he finally senses the overwhelming scale of the power hidden beneath Eugene's unassuming exterior. A radiant glow illuminates the screen as the system reveals the master of the golden smithy skill, a legendary crafting ability that commands respect from even the most seasoned hunters. This legendary mastery grants the ability to forge elite gear, a feat so rare and costly that it shocks even the most seasoned observers. Greed clouds the minds of these opportunists, who envision mountains of wealth falling upon them if they can just exploit his unique ability. These vultures envision a future where they can strip him of his secrets to claim a fortune. A divine radiance crowns him, masking the true depth of his power from those who see only a tired man. Despite his weary exterior, others fail to see the immense wealth of power hidden within this lowly F-ranker. An official examines the paperwork, questioning his recent awakening while he modestly admits to holding only an F-rank status. Heian eagerly pitches a partnership, her voice brimming with excitement as she offers basic training and potential rewards to the unassuming man. The intruder snaps at him, demanding he hire a real professional rather than relying on his own meager abilities. Heian presents a compelling offer, inviting him to join her guild for free training and professional development. Heian beams with excitement, leaning in close to deliver her enthusiastic pitch while the girl recoils in shock at such sudden proximity. The official's stern reminder of strict rules halts the conversation, leaving the girl stunned by the reality of the elite training. Heian desperately begs for a special favor, her pleading ignored by the stern official who maintains his rigid stance. The stranger's voice trembles with disbelief as he demands to know how Eugene is familiar with the identity of the legendary guildmaster. Shock ripples through the man as he realizes the truth: the legendary guildmaster is actually Eugene's own brother. Heian beams with radiant energy, her cheerful demeanor contrasting against the man's stunned silence as she offers an enthusiastic invitation to join their ranks. Heian offers him a lifeline to join their ranks, leaving the man paralyzed by the sheer scale of the opportunity she presents. He grips the man's hand with crushing force, his fingers digging deep into the skin as he delivers a blunt truth. He smiles warmly, dismissing the man's concerns to offer genuine words of encouragement. His kind smile radiates a sense of profound sincerity as he validates her worth. He stares ahead with a haunted expression, his voice trembling as he questions whether he truly deserves this newfound power. Shock ripples across her face as she stares in disbelief. She collapses onto the pavement with a heavy thud, her cry of agony echoing through the air. A simple offer of coffee breaks the tension, providing a brief moment of calm amidst the chaos. A steaming mug sits prominently in the foreground, its warmth radiating as the simple gesture provides a momentary sanctuary from the surrounding tension. Yu Hyun offers a reassuring smile while he questions if the simple brew is enough for his brother. Eugene stares into his mug, acknowledging the rare peace found in this simple gesture. Yu Hyun offers a sympathetic smile, acknowledging the weight of Eugene's words about his former life. Flashbacks reveal Eugene's hidden past, where he was once a gifted inventor forced to abandon his creations by others. Discarded blueprints and rejected designs swirl around him like ghosts of a forgotten ambition. Struggling under the weight of failure, he realizes that his low grades have left him trapped in a cycle of debt with no clear path forward. He stares into the depths of his cup, drowning in the bitter reality of his situation. He listens to her words with a heavy heart, acknowledging the weight of the truth she shares. A mocking stranger sneers at his lowly rank, highlighting how the world judges others by mere labels. The towering man looms over them, dismissing their presence with a harsh command for the girl to stay back and keep mining. Society views success as a single, predetermined path, where those deemed lowly are discarded like waste regardless of their hidden potential. The weight of being overlooked settles heavily upon him as he contemplates why his own secret prowess remained entirely unknown to the world. He acknowledges his past obscurity, yet his grip tightens with newfound purpose. Now, he resolves to rewrite their destiny and seize control over the coming changes. Clenching his fist with determination, Eugene decides that the time has come to defy expectations and seize control of his own fate. Standing before the glowing horizon, Eugene shouts his defiance into the wind, choosing to ignore the whispers of others and embrace their true potential. Yu Hyun smiles at her, dismissing the judgment of others. He reminds her that life is too short to waste on the opinions of those who cannot see their true worth. With a triumphant grin, Yu Hyun points toward the future, his confidence radiating like the sun as he claims their destiny. Exulting in his own confidence, Yu Hyun shouts his declaration of self-love while ignoring the skepticism of those around him. With a wide grin, Yu Hyun shares a moment of sincere connection, his voice filled with warmth as he reaffirms their bond under the glowing horizon. Myung-woo feels the weight of those words, his eyes shimmering with tears as he absorbs Yu Hyun's sincere declaration of love. Eugene stares into the distance, his expression shifting as the weight of his hidden power and the reality of their new situation begin to sink in. The system confirms the successful acquisition of his new subordinate, while the looming cityscape signals the beginning of a much more complex reality. The Director of Human Resources shuts down the negotiation with a cold, definitive rejection. Eugene lets out a sharp exclamation as his expression shifts. The director maintains a cold stance against the intruder, forcing Heian to beg for even a single moment of consideration. He mocks her status, labeling her a mere sack of rags while demanding she acknowledge the weight of such an elite privilege. The man behind the glasses remains unmoved, dismissively labeling her desperate pleas as nothing more than a series of hypotheticals. Yu Hyun desperately advocates for her worth, insisting that she is no mere amateur but a true talent who deserves recognition. Adjusting his spectacles, the official acknowledges Yu Hyun's keen eye for potential before casting doubt on whether their recent success was merely a stroke of luck. A skeptical official questions if their victory was just a stroke of luck, his pointed gesture highlighting his doubt regarding the true nature of their sudden success. The stranger's voice booms as he accuses them of exploiting their luck through shady connections and fraudulent schemes. The man's accusations regarding their motives leave Eugene silent while the woman beside him becomes visibly flustered. Terrified by the sudden escalation, she bolts away from the confrontation as her brother watches her frantic retreat. Frustrated by the lingering tension, Eugene vents his anger regarding director Suk's behavior. Yu Hyun pulls out his phone, attempting to reach his brother for guidance. Yu Hyun beams with genuine warmth, finding comfort in the simple validation of his worth. Determined to forge a new path, Yu Hyun expresses his newfound motivation while acknowledging the support he received. Yu Hyun highlights how even lower-ranked hunters can find opportunities through official contracts, just as a car pulls up to their location. The tires screech against the asphalt as the van pulls up, bringing their ride into focus. A hulking brute looms over the scene, his aggressive stance and predatory grin signaling an immediate threat as he reaches out to seize Eugene. The brute demands payment for the debt of being a hunter. Eugene offers a polite smile while declaring his intent to find honest work, prompting the other man to react with visible disbelief. The stranger recoils in disbelief, his face flushing crimson as he struggles to process the unexpected sincerity of Eugene's words. A hulking brute slams his fist against the door, his voice booming through the hall as he demands that the debt be paid immediately. The massive bully towers over Eugene, demanding that the outstanding debts be paid immediately. Eugene offers a confident smile as he declares his intent to forge an honest living, prompting a stunned reaction from his companion. The boy's bold claim about finding an honest job leaves his companion visibly stunned by his unexpected confidence. The intimidating brute towers over Eugene, his predatory grin widening as he demands the overdue debt be paid in full. A jagged blade presses against Eugene's skin as the brute mocks him with a cruel laugh. The tense standoff suddenly fractures when several figures emerge from the shadows, their shocked expressions signaling an unexpected intervention. The brute sneers at the newcomers, his menacing aura remaining thick as he mocks their very presence. Determined eyes flash as she declares her intent to follow him, just before the roar of an engine signals a sudden, high-speed getaway. Tires screech against the pavement, leaving the group stranded in a heavy, stunned silence. A towering debt collector looms over them, his menacing presence filling the small room as he demands payment for Eugene's outstanding debts. The debt collector sneers at them, mocking Eugene for seeking help from such dangerous figures while Yerim trembles under the weight of his desperate choices. Eugene remains resolute, shielding Yerim from the bully's aggressive posturing while they face down the man's crude threats. The massive brute looms over them, his intimidating presence filling the space as he demands to know if they recognize his lowly rank. Recalling their past as childhood friends, Eugene ignores the brute's mockery while the man sneers at their lowly rank, offering a sarcastic invitation to join his crew in the dangerous dungeons. The muscular bully looms over them, mocking their lowly status while offering a sarcastic invitation to join his group in the dangerous dungeons. Yerim looks surprised by his unexpected kindness, while the group erupts in boisterous laughter as they celebrate their new partnership. Yerim beams with pure joy, realizing just how easy it is to secure such a prestigious position. Her joyful expression remains intact even as the reality of her new role begins to surface. The grim reality of the lower ranks haunts him, where desperate hunters are preyed upon by those seeking to exploit their lack of experience and meager earnings. Blood stains the ground where the weak are hunted, leaving Eugene haunted by the brutal truth of his former life. The weight of his past failures hangs heavy in the air as mocking voices question if he ever truly reached his peak. The man outlines a simple scheme for quick riches. His companion responds with wide-eyed enthusiasm before calling out his dishonest tactics. Inquiry into the guild's location leads to a surprising revelation. They reach their destination, arriving before a modest hotel and board service establishment nestled within the city streets. Eugene and Yerim pause before the entrance as they prepare to enter the building. The duo admires the unique name of the establishment before entering the building. Inside the rundown building, a massive, tattooed brute blocks their path with an intimidating presence. Heian enthusiastically details the perks of their new office space, but her words are cut short by a sudden strike. The brute's heavy blow slams Eugene into the concrete floor with a deafening thud. Dust settles as the group remains in the office, while Eugene endures the aftermath of the sudden assault. Confused by the sudden impact, Eugene looks up at his attacker, barely able to process the overwhelming force of the man looming above him. The brute towers over him, his heavy boots slamming against the ground in a menacing display of dominance. The brute sneers at Eugene, his heavy hand pinning the younger man in place while he mocks the absurdity of their current predicament. The brute looms over them, his mocking laughter echoing as he demands they stay together until the very end. Eugene offers a desperate apology for dragging her into his mess, but the moment of vulnerability is shattered when a sudden physical assault sends them crashing to the floor. The brute towers over the fallen man, his intimidating presence looming large as he demands that Eugene sign the binding contract immediately. Under the pressure of the brute's looming presence, Eugene stares at the paper where his thumb must press down to finalize the binding agreement. The brute offers a deceptive deal, his words masking a sinister threat of a high-level curse should Eugene refuse the terms of the contract. Warning signs glow across the parchment, highlighting the deadly consequences of defying the terms. The brute towers over the table, demanding an immediate signature while pressuring Eugene to finish the deal quickly. Eugene pleads for a favor, but the man counters with a grim warning about the consequences of walking away. Scrutinizing the legal documents, Eugene compares the clauses to his own situation, realizing that he holds the upper hand since he owes these men nothing. The thugs explode into mocking laughter at Eugene's calm defiance, their booming voices filling the air as they ridicule his claim of being debt-free. The thugs roar with laughter, their mocking voices echoing as they mock his claims. The official presents a detailed contract, sliding the papers across the table to outline the specific distribution of earnings. The official clarifies the lopsided split, explaining how most of the revenue flows directly to Eugene. Eugene stares intensely at the paper, acknowledging that this binding arrangement is essentially a slave contract. His grip tightens on the document, his eyes narrowing as he prepares to confront the fraud who dared to target his friend. His voice cuts through the air like a blade, demanding to know if the man truly believed he could exploit his friend's innocence. A heavy silence hangs in the air as Eugene stares down his opponent with unwavering resolve, his presence commanding respect even amidst the looming threat. Shocked, the brute recoils as the reality of the lingering curse begins to weigh heavily upon him. A sudden counterattack sends the brute flying backward, slamming him into the dirt with a deafening thud. The brute groans, his body buckling under the weight of the overwhelming force. The brute's scream echoes as he realizes this isn't an F-rancor, but a force of nature. A violent explosion of energy slams the man into the pavement, crushing his defenses under the weight of an unstoppable force. The man gasps for air, his body shattered against the pavement while the reality of his defeat sinks in. Eugene maintains his composure, meeting the man's desperate insults with a cold, unwavering gaze. The brute bellows a final, frantic threat as he lunges forward. Eugene watches the screen with cold eyes, knowing the law won't reach them in time. He ignores the law, choosing to handle this threat personally. The earth shatters beneath the intruder's feet, crushing his very bones into the dirt. A massive shockwave erupts from the point of impact, pulverizing the brute into the cracked pavement. Dust settles around him as he remains grounded, the silence following the explosion hanging heavy over the ruined street. A heavy thud echoes through the room, signaling his arrival. Eugene grits his teeth, bracing himself for the coming clash while preparing to unleash his full power. His fist connects with explosive force, unleashing a devastating shockwave that obliterates everything in its path. The raw force of the impact sends the intruders reeling back, their bodies tossed like ragdolls by the overwhelming pressure of Eugene's strike. The impact leaves the intruder collapsed on the floor, his body hitting the ground with a heavy thud. Mr. Han steps forward to deliver his ultimatum, offering to extract the man from his current predicament. The intruder gasps in shock as Eugene reacts to the sudden turn of events. Moments later, Mr. Han remains composed, calmly explaining his plan to escape by car. Confidence radiates from the group as they mock the simplicity of the task, while a close-up reveals a hand gripping a phone to coordinate their next move. Mr. Han grips his phone, his voice steady as he admits that their trail is easy to follow. The fist connects with a sickening thud, sending a spray of blood into the air as the force of the blow buckles the man's defenses. The impact sends the man reeling backward, his face contorted in a desperate gasp as he collapses from the sheer force of the blow. The massive brute towers over his victim, looming like a predator while letting out a guttural roar of dominance. Brandishing a jagged blade, the brute lunges forward with a feral snarl. The steel edge whistles through the air, nearly severing the official's head. Panic strikes the official's face as he screams a frantic warning. A jagged blade pierces through the air, striking home with a brutal force that leaves the official reeling in stunned silence. Shock ripples across the man's face as he struggles to comprehend how such a feat was possible. The sharp blade tears through his clothes, leaving the man paralyzed by the realization that he has severely underestimated his opponent. Mocking him for his lowly status, the official sneers that Eugene should have brought something capable of facing an A-ranker. A massive surge of energy erupts, sending the arrogant official flying backward through the air. The official tumbles backward from the blast, while nearby witnesses gasp at the sheer force of the impact. Sunghan Kim stands firm, his identity confirmed by the surrounding crowd. Sunghan bellows a command that crushes their resolve, forcing the thugs to hit the pavement in total submission. Yerim hesitates, offering a timid denial as the man looms over her. Officials deliberate over the list, weighing the consequences of her actions as they decide on a fitting retribution. A radiant glow erupts as the official documents materialize in a burst of golden energy, signaling the formal transition of her rank. Eugene pushes the S-rank contract forward, his calm demeanor contrasting with the heavy weight of the legal trap hidden within the fine print. Shocked by the lopsided terms, the official recoils as the reality of the exploitative contract sinks in. The official recoils in horror as the true weight of the 50-year sentence becomes clear. The official's face contorts in agony as the predatory nature of the document becomes undeniable. Papers erupt into the air, swirling around the room as the truth of the situation begins to overwhelm everyone present. Shock ripples across the official's face as he stares at the evidence. Pointing toward the evidence, the official highlights the massive amount of contracts signed by those lower-ranked hunters. The official sneers at the desperate contracts signed by low-rankers, mocking those who traded their freedom for safety in this ruthless industry. Groaning in defeat, the fallen hunter curses the system that forced him into such desperate terms. Eugene stares into the void, contemplating the grim reality of those deemed expendable by the system. A towering official looms over the trembling girl, his intense gaze demanding respect while the weight of their new reality settles heavily upon them. Defiant, Eugene shields the trembling girl from the accusations of the men who see her only as a tool for profit. The weight of Eugene's overwhelming power crushes their resolve, leaving the desperate men broken amidst the ruins of their failed schemes. A menacing threat hangs over the intruders, forcing them into a state of panicked desperation. The desperate men plead for mercy, begging him to grant them some slack regarding the heavy burden of their long commitment. Eugene offers a confident grin, acknowledging their pathetic display with a simple remark. A patronizing pat lands on Eugene's head, punctuating the official's mockery of his perceived incompetence. The official looms over him, his voice dropping into a chilling threat as he demands payment for the crimes committed. Grabbing his hair, the official squeezes with brutal force, forcing a desperate cry from Eugene. The official barks a cold command to remove everyone else. A passing vehicle echoes through the quiet streets as the news of their victory spreads. Inside the moving car, the official explains how their hard-earned rewards will finally provide compensation for the victims. Eugene and Yerim share a moment of quiet relief, exhaling deeply as the grueling ordeal finally comes to an end. Eugene offers a quiet thank you as they ride in silence, though Yerim remains puzzled by his sudden gratitude. Yerim blushes deeply, her heart racing as Eugene's smile radiates an unexpected warmth that contradicts his humble appearance. Tears well in Yerim's eyes as she admits his constant protection, her voice trembling with raw honesty. Eugene offers a gentle word of comfort as Yerim's tears fall, before her sudden rise to fame transforms her into a national sensation. Yerim clings to him, her tears flowing as she declares him her hero, before they depart for the Heian headquarters to secure her future. After meeting with Director Suk to finalize the legal arrangements, Eugene and Yerim arrive at their new destination. They step inside to find an expansive suite that feels more like a luxury penthouse than a standard dormitory. Yerim gasps in disbelief at the opulence. The official notes that the suite features 4 spacious bedrooms. Yerim marvels at the upscale accommodations during the tour. The official questions Eugene about his domestic skills, prompting him to admit his limited culinary abilities. Seeking a way to keep her nearby, the official suggests a convenient loophole: Eugene can simply pose as a housekeeper to secure his residency. The official clarifies that the arrangement is merely for convenience, easing the pressure on Eugene while he considers the practicalities of his new role. Overwhelmed by his sincere promise of protection, Yerem can barely contain her emotions as tears begin to well in her eyes. Overwhelmed by the weight of his protection, Yerem lunges forward to embrace him, crying out about his kindness while he recoils in startled confusion. Exhaustion finally claims its toll as Eugene sinks into a deep slumber. While he drifts in a deep slumber, Eugene's subconscious mind wanders through a hazy daydream of domestic life. Stepping through the door, Eugene resolves to reclaim his belongings from his brother's place before things become complicated. A sudden confrontation erupts as Eugene faces his brother, whose intimidating presence fills the corridor. Panic flares in Eugene's eyes as he demands answers about his status, while Yoo-hyun stands firm, preparing to clarify his true intentions. A heavy tremor shakes the earth beneath them. Eugene stands resolute, his eyes narrowing as he prepares to deliver his final ultimatum. Shock ripples across Eugene's face as a desperate plea echoes through the air. The intense atmosphere shifts as they step into a crowded tavern, where a server arrives with a tray of beverages. The server offers a warm greeting as he presents the tray of beverages. The sudden appearance of a towering, muscular figure creates a wave of intimidation, forcing Eugene to face the looming threat of this massive stranger. The massive man looms forward, his intense gaze piercing through his sunglasses as he demands to know if Eugene recognizes the name of Minnie Kim. A boisterous host beckons them forward, his enthusiastic gesture signaling that a private table has been secured for their arrival. Whispering among themselves, the companions question the identity of those nearby while the host proudly displays the most popular dishes on the menu. With a deep bow, the host offers his polite assistance, ensuring the guests are satisfied with their experience. While the host bows, Eugene remains silent, his eyes narrowing as he scrutinizes the upscale menu items. Questioning the choice of such a hip establishment, Eugene wonders why his acquaintance insisted on this specific location for their meeting. A glowing neon sign confirms their arrival at the establishment, where a towering man looms over them with an intimidating presence. The massive host offers a welcoming invitation, inviting them to relax and enjoy their drinks. The towering host leans in, his voice steady as he invites her to share her thoughts over a cold drink. He holds out the bottle with steady hands, offering her a drink as he prepares to deliver his sincere apology. He begins his confession, admitting that he once viewed her as nothing more than a nuisance who stood in his way. Yerem recoils in shock, questioning the sincerity behind his sudden apology. Mr. Han smiles warmly while acknowledging the man's true nature. Host smiles with a welcoming grin, holding his drink as he prepares to speak. Confusion clouds his mind as the weight of their shared past begins to surface. He acknowledges the gravity of her situation, reminding her of the risks he took to secure her future. He highlights how he navigated her family's turmoil to secure her safety, ensuring that no one could ever exploit her vulnerability again. The massive man acknowledges his bravery, praising the way Eugene risked everything to protect her during their ordeal. Eugene receives the man's praise for his unwavering protection, but Yerem's startled expression reveals her internal panic as she realizes he is completely misinterpreting her feelings. Eugene spots an opening, mentally preparing to exploit this situation by weaving in a strategic keyword. The host laughs boisterously as he grips the man's hand, praising his kindness while Sung-han prepares to retaliate with a sharp, intimidating warning. The host presses him for answers, questioning if his suspicious behavior during the brokerage deal was part of a calculated sting. Eugene offers a charming smile, claiming his suspicious behavior was merely part of an undercover investigation. While they share a humble meal, the conversation shifts toward the reality of their lives as siblings in a world that demands constant vigilance and protection. He admits his overprotective nature stems from a deep-seated need to shield her as they navigate the complexities of their bond. He reveals the lonely reality of his upbringing, explaining how his grandfather stepped in to raise him when his parents were nowhere to be found. He recounts visiting his elderly grandfather every holiday until the man's passing. During a sudden dungeon shock, Eugene awakened his powers while desperately trying to protect the old man from certain death. He reflects on the late guildmaster's generosity, recalling how the man ensured he had support until his passing last year. The host emphasizes how much the brother values family bonds over all else. The host offers a warm smile, acknowledging the deep bond and protective instincts shared between the brothers. Clinking their glasses together, the pair shares a toast of camaraderie and mutual respect. The host notes with amusement that Eugene possesses a surprisingly high tolerance for alcohol. Eugene admits his status as a lightweight, confessing a peculiar and embarrassing habit that surfaces whenever he gets smashed. The host laughs at the massive pile of bottles, prompting Eugene to gasp as he realizes just how much he actually drank. Staring at his glass, Eugene feels a strange lack of intoxication, wondering if his new status has granted him immunity to the alcohol. He scrutinizes the glowing system interface, questioning if his new passive skill provides immunity against the alcohol. Panic surges through Eugene as he desperately tries to mask his overwhelming anxiety with a forced, trembling smile. Eugene stares at the flickering menu, desperately trying to figure out how to manipulate his status to survive the drink. He frantically toggles the settings, purging the restrictions from his status until the liquid finally reacts. A sudden metallic clang echoes through the space. Eugene flinches, his eyes widening in shock as he hears someone call out his name. A frantic question echoes through the air, leaving Eugene visibly shaken. Shock washes over Eugene, his face heating up as he reels from the unexpected weight of the situation. Stunned by the weight of reality, Eugene gasps in disbelief. A sudden jolt sends Eugene reeling, his eyes widening as he realizes just how fast the strike landed. The table crashes down with a deafening boom, slamming the man face first into the feast. Dust settles as the scene shifts toward a brightly lit corridor, where the heavy tension of the brawl begins to fade into the sterile quiet of a new environment. Bright lights flood the corridor as they move deeper into the facility. A sharp gasp escapes his lips as the overwhelming pressure finally takes its toll, leaving him collapsed against the cold floor. He groans in exhaustion as his skill suddenly fails, only for a nearby voice to offer a basin and break the heavy silence. Eugene stares blankly at the offered vessel, his exhausted gaze meeting the host's steady eyes. The massive host looms over him, offering the basin to provide some relief from the grueling ordeal. A sudden crash jolts the man from his sleep as he hits the floor, while an official stands over him, demanding preparation for the first day of basic training. A glowing screen confirms the status of the elite guard, but the digital reality fades into a startling physical confrontation where a towering man looms over a startled Eugene. The towering man looms over Eugene, whose eyes widen in sheer shock at the sudden, intimidating proximity of the massive stranger. The muscular brute sneers, mocking Eugene's appearance with a crude insult that echoes through the hall. Confusion clouds Eugene's mind as he questions the chaotic reality of the past night. A stern official looms over Eugene, his heavy palm striking the table to demand answers regarding the chaotic events of the previous night. The official mocks Eugene, suggesting a massive hangover has clouded his senses after the chaotic ordeal. Eugene clutches his chest, haunted by memories of the violent clash that occurred just hours ago. The man pushes a drink toward him, causing Eugene to stammer in protest. He offers a soothing explanation, claiming that massaging her feet helps alleviate the lingering effects of a hangover. He presents her with a golden bowl, causing her to react in disbelief at his bizarre behavior. This absurdity fades as a man confronts the grim reality of her lost memories. He stares into her eyes, his voice heavy with the weight of her forgotten past. The heavy silence of the moment breaks as his words linger in the air. A concerned official leans over the slumped figure of Eugene, his voice cutting through the heavy silence as he questions the man's condition. Eugene barely manages a faint mumble, his consciousness slipping away while the official watches him closely. Sun Han stands firm, his gaze fixed on the man beside him while the heavy atmosphere of the room hangs thick between them. Sun Han breaks the heavy silence with a sudden, desperate declaration of love. Sun Han recoils in disbelief, his face heating up as he struggles to process the sudden admission. Sun Han's voice trembles as he acknowledges the truth, his face burning with a deep, crimson blush. Sun Han bows low, his face burning with shame while he offers a desperate apology for his behavior. Eugene offers a soft smile, confessing that despite the hardships, everything he endured brought him genuine happiness. A heavy silence falls over the room as the weight of their shared history hangs in the air, leaving only the lingering echo of his words. Mr. Han leans over the unconscious man, his expression weary as he demands that the intoxicated hunter wake up. Sun Han slumps against the wall, his face flushed from heavy drinking while Mr. Han questions if this is the embarrassing habit he had mentioned. With a heavy hiccup, Sun Han struggles through his intoxication to confess his hidden feelings. His drunken declaration echoes through the room, a raw and honest admission that catches everyone off guard. Sun Han leans in close, his face beaming with a wide, intoxicated grin as he shares more of his unfiltered thoughts. He offers a warm, reassuring smile as he speaks firmly about the truth of their lineage. Sun Han pours out his heart in a boisterous, drunken declaration of pride. Sun Han sighs at the repetitive, drunken ramblings. Sun Han chuckles at the crude joke, his heavy footsteps echoing as he and Eugene begin their retreat from the crowd. A haunting comparison surfaces, linking the present moment to a memory of his late grandfather. The two men walk in silence, their shared history weighing heavily upon them as they step into the unknown. A digital notification confirms Sun Han Kim is officially under Eugene's custody. Shocked by the sudden comment, Sun Han recoils slightly while his face flushes with a mix of confusion and embarrassment. Sun Han stares at Eugene, struggling to comprehend the bizarre reality of the man's family history. Eugene explains his feelings of safety, a sentiment that evokes memories of their grandfather. He shares a quiet, intimate moment with Yerem, recalling the safety they once found together. He confesses his constant desire to protect her, while she promises to behave properly around others. He offers a gentle inquiry regarding the possibility of crossing temporal boundaries just to see how she is doing. He reflects on the heavy burden of responsibility, acknowledging the debt he owes for everything his brother has done to raise him. He ponders his true status, wondering if he is merely serving as her guardian. He questions his lowly title, wondering if his role as a mere custodian truly reflects the power hidden within him. A glowing emblem pulses with mystical energy, symbolizing the profound truth behind his title. He contemplates the weight of his role, realizing that his protection stems from a deep, unspoken devotion that transcends simple friendship. He sits in silence, processing the heavy reality of his duty to protect her. He acknowledges how their deep devotion stems from his constant care, forming an unbreakable bond of trust between them. He realizes that his constant devotion has intensified her response, forging an unbreakable bond through his tireless service as her primary protector. The weight of their shared journey settles over them as the reality of their new situation begins to take shape. Sun Han and Eugene stand together, the adrenaline of the recent confrontation finally beginning to fade into a heavy silence. Yerem trembles from the lingering fear of the fight, while Sun Han offers a steady, grounding presence beside her. The peace is shattered by a violent crash as a grinning intruder bursts through the door. Mocking their lack of awareness, the intruder sneers at them through the shattered doorway. The intruder's mockery rings out as he demands to know who this man is, challenging the peace of their current moment. Eugene remains composed, calmly correcting the intruder by identifying the girl as his close friend while maintaining an air of quiet authority. He ponders the true intent behind this gift from the system. He activates the resistance skill with a steady hand, preparing for what lies ahead. Time passes in an instant. Days pass as the tension of battle fades into a new, domestic routine. A feast of exquisite dishes graces the table, showcasing Eugene's surprising culinary skills as he prepares to provide for those under his care. While Yerem and her companions react to his modest claim, Eugene remains humble about his role as their provider. Yerem blushes at his humble admission, though she quickly shifts the topic toward the whereabouts of their missing comrade. Inquiry about their missing teammate leads to news of his ongoing mission, as they learn he will be absent for several days while participating in a dangerous raid alongside Yu Hyun. Dreaming of wealth, Eugene boasts about his plans to become filthy rich after conquering the dungeons. While Eugene boasts of his future riches, Yerem's icy aura begins to manifest, freezing the soup in front of them. Beside him, a suited official watches while Eugene maintains his composure, holding a spoon as he prepares for what comes next. The official confirms their joint training, sparking Yerem's disbelief before a sudden intrusion shatters the peace, forcing them into a desperate scramble as they flee from an approaching threat. Panic erupts as the door bursts open, startling Yerem while Eugene prepares to face the intruder's sudden arrival. Eugene stares down the intruder, his voice steady and commanding despite the sudden tension of the confrontation. Shock ripples through the air as the name Shurmyung-suk echoes across the room. Shurmyung-suk presents the official documents, confirming that the mandatory orientation training for the new recruits begins immediately. The official explains that a shift in the schedule requires them to start their practical training immediately. The instructor reassures the group that the upcoming drill is simple enough, even as low growls and a heavy rumble signal an approaching threat. Metal groans under the pressure as the beast's maw opens wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth ready to tear through the defenses. A guttural roar erupts from the beast's throat, its jagged teeth gleaming as it snaps at the nearby barriers. A wave of frantic whispers erupts among the gathered crowd as they recoil from the sheer intensity of the unfolding situation. Shadows loom over the trio as they stand firm against the encroaching dust, their weapons ready for the next challenge. Roaring beasts swarm the battlefield in a chaotic frenzy, their ferocious cries echoing through the air as they close in on the desperate defenders. Shocked by the simple directive, the pair realizes they must now focus on becoming accustomed to the constant presence of monsters. The mentor explains that constant exposure is the only way to build familiarity with the lurking threats. A massive roar echoes as the earth trembles, and a colossal beast erupts from the soil with a deafening rumble. Eugene grips his weapon firmly, bracing for the confrontation against the towering beast while his companions stand ready behind him. Gritting his teeth, Eugene slams his foot into the dirt, propelling himself forward with a determined shout to wipe out his enemies at once. His body blurs into a streak of motion as he closes the distance, his blade carving through the air to strike his foes with devastating precision. Steel bites deep into the beast's hide, carving through its thick skin with every desperate strike as his blades find their mark. A colossal wave of frosty energy erupts from her core, blasting outward in a violent surge of azure light that consumes the battlefield. Dust settles around them as the girl finds joy in the chaos, while the man stands firm against the weight of her newfound power. He maintains a humble facade before the beast, hiding his true mastery while the girl realizes the staggering gap between their ranks. Yerem beams at the realization of his true strength, while the transition to the training grounds brings a stern official questioning the risks of such large-scale preparation. The official questions the risks of such a large crowd during basic training. Eugene remains unfazed, dismissing the concern with a steady gaze. Eugene reveals the majestic icy structure, proclaiming the birth of a magnificent Christmas tree. Suddenly, the tranquil air shatters as a monstrous serpent erupts from the shadows, its scales shimmering with malevolent energy while it writhes toward its next target. The serpent lunges forward with a deafening roar, its massive jaws snapping toward the startled pair. Shock ripples through the pair as the monster's maw looms large, forcing them into a desperate moment of survival. Yerem screams for help as the spear strikes the beast with a piercing metallic clang. Bolting away in terror, Eugene screams at the top of his lungs as the sheer magnitude of the beast's presence overwhelms his senses. Panic grips Eugene as the overwhelming presence of the beast closes in, forcing him to flee for his life. The beast's terrifying roar echoes through the woods, driving Eugene deeper into his desperate flight. Slamming into the dirt, Eugene skids across the cracked pavement, his body jolted by the sheer force of the impact. Gasping for air, Eugene presses his palms against the fractured earth, struggling to find his footing amidst the dust. A massive, hideous Fong mole emerges from the dirt. Its limited vision provides a desperate opening for Eugene to launch a lethal, forward thrust with his heavy spear. Eugene prepares for the lethal strike as his focus narrows, while the weight of their new reality looms over them in the eyes of those watching. Amidst the chaos, an official watches closely, noting how Eugene's unusual knowledge commands respect from those witnessing his rise. The official observes Yerem closely, his intense scrutiny searching for any sign of weakness or hidden potential within the newly awakened S-ranker. Suspicion clouds the official's gaze as he notices the irregularities in Eugene's legal documents, hinting at a secret power hidden beneath his unassuming exterior. Eugene offers a reassuring smile, his confidence radiating as Yerem gazes up at him in genuine awe. Fear grips Yerem as she contemplates the heavy burden of her new rank, wondering if she should have remained a humble novice to avoid such intense scrutiny. A sudden impact startles Yerem, sending her into a panicked scream as she recoils from the unexpected contact. The official looms over her while she tumbles back, her confidence crumbling under the weight of her sudden fame. Skip. A haunting question echoes through the hall, questioning if the ordeal has finally concluded. Determined to overcome his limitations, Eugene declares his intent to master his skills despite the overwhelming odds standing in his path. Stumbling from exhaustion, Yerem leans on Eugene as he offers a steadying hand, his presence providing a silent anchor amidst the aftermath of their grueling trial. Yerem's frantic apology highlights her insecurity, while Eugene's blunt observation underscores the harsh reality of their new lives in the high-stakes world of elite hunters. A stern official steps forward, his gaze heavy with authority as he acknowledges their successful completion of the grueling training. Adjusting his spectacles, the official delivers a biting comparison that mocks her lack of poise against the perfection of others. Yerem bristles under the weight of his insults, her frustration mounting at being labeled hopeless. Ignoring her silent fury, the official announces that theory classes will begin tomorrow under the guidance of Professor Hyun-suk. Stepping forward with poised grace, Hyun-suk introduces herself to the attentive crowd. Hyun stands poised before the class, her presence commanding respect from the gathered students. Shocked pupils react to the instructor's youthful appearance, prompting a revelation of her prestigious status as the world's leading authority on dungeon structures and theories. Known globally as Dr. White, she earned fame as a genius academic whose mastery over dungeon principles established her as the ultimate authority in the field. She offers a modest smile, acknowledging their surprised reactions to her legendary reputation. Hyun admits that few people know her by her real name, choosing to remain humble despite her immense fame in the field. Hyun faces the gathered students, her steady gaze and professional demeanor establishing her authority as the new instructor. Hyun acknowledges Yujin's extensive knowledge, causing him to recoil in sudden disbelief as her words strike home. Shock ripples through Eugene as the weight of her words hits him like a physical blow. Hyun steps forward, her voice steady as she announces her new role at the guild to begin their joint research project. Hyun offers a warm smile, expressing her hope that everyone will get along well during their time together at the guild. Hearts race as the unexpected warmth of their joined hands sparks a sudden, overwhelming realization of the bond growing between them. The intimate moment fades as they stand before a towering glass skyscraper, only for the scene to fracture into a blur of motion and dust. A violent gust of wind sweeps through the jagged canyons as the beast collapses into the dirt. Standing amidst the cooling embers, Eugene confirms the beast's demise while his companions survey the remains of the monster. While the heat still radiates from the carcass, a subordinate seeks guidance from Eugene regarding the disposal of the fallen creature. The subordinate asks for guidance on what to do with the carcass, unaware of its true nature. Soft light bathes the tiny creature as it rests peacefully, its innocent form reminding everyone that despite the surrounding chaos, it remains just a baby. A new era begins as Hyun-suk steps forward, introducing herself as the instructor to a room of stunned students.